Welcome back to our New York studios as we begin to reveal the seedings and the pairings. And here is a look at the tournament brackets from the NCAA and its corporate champion, Coca-Cola. Let's start with the Midwest region. These are games played Friday, Sunday in Dayton, Ohio. And as we said, the number one seed in the Midwest, the overall number one seed, the Louisville Cardinals out of the Big East Conference. They will play the winner of the opening round game Tuesday night in Dayton between Alabama State and Morehead State. The Eagles of Morehead State out of the Ohio Valley, their first NCAA tournament appearance since 1984. So it'll be Morehead State against Alabama State. Moving on. Number 8, Ohio State Buckeyes just completed winning the Big Ten Conference Championship, and the Ohio State Buckeyes are there and ready and waiting under head coach Thad Matta. They'll go up against the Siena Saints, Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference tournament winners, the Siena Saints, an 8-9 matchup. Now, in Miami, first and second round action on Friday and Sunday. The 5th seed Utes of Utah out of the Mountain West. And the Utes, who won their conference tournament, in a celebratory mood, you betcha. Who are they going to play? They're up against the Arizona Wildcats out of the Pac-10. And the Wildcats, some thought they wouldn't make the tournament.
There's your first bubble team in the field. The other bubble teams aren't so happy. I got to question this one a little bit, given the way they played on the road. They lost 5 out of the last 6. They tried to play their way out, but they are in.
All right, the number 4 seed in the Midwest region, the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest out of the ACC. Their best start ever to a season. They began at 16-0. Congratulations to the Demon Deacons. Who do they meet? Number 13 out of the Horizon League, the Vikings of Cleveland State. They upset heavily favored and nationally ranked Butler in the Horizon League final to earn a trip to the NCAA tournament. Cleveland State on its way to the NCAA tournament. Now, the bottom half of the bracket. These games to be played Friday and Sunday in Minneapolis. Number 2 seed, Michigan State out of the Big Ten. The Spartans, the regular season Big Ten champions. Tom Izzo's team, who will they meet? How about the Colonials of Robert Morris out of the Northeast? They won the season's NEC tournament title. Robert Morris at 24-10 up against the Spartans. The number 7 seed out of the ACC, the Eagles of Boston College. Fine year, 22-11, and they will meet, coming out of the Pac-10, the USC Trojans, who won the conference tournament out west.
And playing with a lot of momentum right now, USC has to feel real good about their chances. I think that's a very good matchup going up against a good Boston College team, but DeMar Rosen, the freshman, really coming into his own here down the stretch.
Trojans have won 5 straight games. These are now first and second round games Friday, Sunday to be played in Minneapolis. Defending champion Kansas, the Kansas Jayhawks. Bill Self, Big 12 Coach of the Year. We were talking with him a short while ago, wondering where he's going to go, who he's going to play. The defending champs are on the board, and who they're going to play. How about the Bison out of North Dakota State? Their first NCAA tournament appearance in their first season of eligibility. Yeah, congratulations, Bison. You get the defending champs.
Bigger crowd there than in Kansas. I thought they had fans in Kansas. What's going on? Congratulations.
First school out of the state of North Dakota to reach the NCAA tournament. And finally, rounding out this region, number 6 seed Mountaineers of West Virginia. Again, coming out of the Big East. Remember, they knocked off number 2 Pittsburgh in the Big East tournament. Everybody with their feet in the air. And who do you meet? Coming out of the Atlantic 10, the Dayton Flyers, and Coach Brian Gregory and his squad at 26-7. And those are the Dayton Flyers who are hungry and can't wait to get at the West Virginia Mountaineers. So let's take another look now at this Midwest region. Tell me what you saw and what you like, Greg.
Well, I think Arizona, even though there's a lot of question as to whether or not they get in, I think, again, a very favorable matchup going up against Utah. And in that Ohio State-Siena matchup, Siena is one of those sleeper-type teams that they have great guard play, a lot of experience, and they won a tournament game last season.
Yeah, I love Siena, actually, in that game. I think they could give Louisville a tough game. And I do think that Arizona's going to beat Utah. But, again, the way they played on the road, Wake Forest, very dangerous in that top of the bracket. But look at the teams matched up with Kansas. You're talking about potentially West Virginia or Boston College, Michigan State. Those are tough, physical basketball teams. This is a bad draw for the Jayhawks.
It is, and don't discount Dayton. Very good basketball team.
All right, guys, we'll take a timeout. Coming up, we will reveal the West region when the NCAA Basketball Championship Selection Show continues live here on CBS. Welcome back to the NCAA Basketball Championship Selection Show. Here is a look at the tournament brackets from the NCAA and its corporate champion AT&T, and here is the West region. These games to be played in Philadelphia on Thursday and Saturday. The top seed, the Connecticut Huskies. And yeah, the Connecticut Huskies of Jim Calhoun came out of the West twice to win their national titles out of the Big East. Who are they going to play? How about the Mocs of Chattanooga? The Southern Conference Tournament champions. They won the tournament title. They are 18-16 on the year, and they draw the UConn Huskies. The number 8 seed, BYU from the Mountain West. They share the Mountain West regular season title, and the Cougars will meet the Aggies of Texas A&M and Big 12. Coach Mark Turgeon makes it 2 tournaments in 2 seasons at Texas A&M.
That's a pretty healthy seed for Texas A&M at a 9. That shows they had a high opinion of the Big 12.
All right, now these games in Portland, Oregon on Thursday and Saturday. The 5th seed, the Boilermakers of Purdue. Coach Matt Painter and his Boilermakers coming off their Big Ten tournament championship. Matt Painter was just waiting around to see who he's going to draw. Here's who they get. They get the 12th seeded Panthers out of Northern Iowa, Missouri Valley Conference tournament winners. Now, the number 4 seed from the Pac-10, the Washington Huskies. Coach Lorenzo Romar led his Huskies to their first outright Pac-10 title since 1953. And Low Row and his Huskies are celebrating. Now, who do we play? How about the Bulldogs of Mississippi State, conference tournament winners out of the SEC, coached by Rick Stansbury?
And I tell you what, Mississippi State's getting hot at the right time, and with Jarvis Renato on the interior, they're capable of beating a lot of teams in this tournament. Washington better watch out.
All right. First and second round games now on Thursday and Saturday in Kansas City, Missouri. The number 2 seed, the Memphis Tigers, Conference USA champions. Many thought they would be a number 1 seed. They are going as a number 2 seed, and they are out of the Conference USA. Who are they going to meet? From the Big West, they're going to meet the Matadors of Cal State Northridge, the conference tournament winners in the Big West Conference. And you guys get the Memphis Tigers. Celebration for the time being at Cal State. Meanwhile, the 7th seed, the Golden Bears of California, Mike Montgomery's team coming out of the Pac-10, won their only national title 50 years ago. Who do they meet? They meet the Terps of Maryland, Gary Williams and his Terps coming out of the ACC.
There's another bubble team, not much of a bubble team. How about a 10 seed? So all those other bubble teams out there waiting just got a little bit more discouraged.
All right, first and second round games now on Friday and Sunday out in Boise, Idaho. The number 3 seed Missouri Tigers, conference tournament winner Coach Mike Anderson. Missouri won its first ever Big 12 tournament title, and they will meet the 14th seed Big Red, Ivy League champions, making their second straight NCAA appearance. And then finally, in this bracket, the number 6 seed Golden Eagles of Marquette out of the Big East. Coach Bud Williams in his first season at Marquette. They won a national title back in 1977 under Al McGuire. They will meet the Aggies of Utah State, who won the conference tournament in the WAC.
Tough matchup for Marquette, especially losing Dominique James. I think Marquette was a team that had a chance to go to a Final Four with him in the lineup. Without him, it'd be interesting to see how they respond. And
the committee going with competitive balance, putting Memphis in the same region as UConn, as opposed to giving them a geographic bump. And I got to tell you, this side of the bracket right here really, really sets up well for UConn. I totally disagree about Washington, Mississippi State, by the way, especially in Portland. I like the Huskies in that one.
How about the bottom half of the bracket as we take a look at that? And just keep in mind that the Memphis Tigers are in this one.
Yeah, they seemed a little subdued, almost as if they were disappointed getting the number 2 seed. But you know what? If you are Memphis, you have an opportunity for redemption, because if you went out, you get a chance probably at that number 1 UConn.
Yeah, it's too bad that Marquette doesn't have Dominic James. I think they walk to a UConn-Memphis regional final. I don't see much competition there for those two great teams.
All right, guys, we're halfway through the brackets, and we remind you, you can run your bracket competition online for free with Bracket Manager. Invite your friends, fill out your brackets, and then Bracket Manager does the rest. Sign up now at cbsports.com/brackets. When we come back, we will reveal the East region after this message and a word from your local station. Welcome back to New York, everyone, as we continue live on the NCAA Basketball Championship Selection Show. And right now, a look at the tournament brackets from the NCAA and its corporate champion, Pontiac. And let's run down the East region. These are Friday, Sunday games to be played in Dayton, Ohio. The top seed, the Pittsburgh Panthers. Coach Jamie Dixon wondering where his team was going to head out of the Big East. The Panthers come into the tournament winning 10 of their last 12 games, and veteran team is just sitting there. Yeah, we know we're good. Who are we going to meet? You're going to meet the Buccaneers of East Tennessee State out of the Atlantic Sun. They won the Atlantic Sun Conference Tournament, and they are going to take on the top seed in the East, the Pittsburgh Panthers. The number 8 seed out of the Big 12, the Cowboys of Oklahoma State. Coach Travis Ford, in his first season in Stillwater, leads his team into the tournament where they will meet number 9 Tennessee. The Volunteers out of the SEC. Coach Bruce Pearl has won 20 or more games in all 4 of his seasons at Tennessee.
I tell you what, this is going to be an interesting matchup because Oklahoma State's starting to play real good basketball here second half of the season. Tennessee, still an unknown commodity defensively. Could be a tough game for them.
All right, Greg. Now, first and second round games Friday, Sunday in Boise, Idaho. The number 5 seed, Seminoles of Florida State. Coach Leonard Hamilton, ACC Coach of the Year. And the Seminoles reach their first ever ACC tournament final. They'll meet the Wisconsin Badgers out of the Big Ten.
How about Wisconsin, a 12 seed? I don't know too many people who even had them on the bubble. That means they're one of the last 2 or 3 teams in. The committee gives Maryland a 10 and Wisconsin a 12. That's the ACC versus the Big Ten, folks.
All right, now the number 4 seed and the second team out of the Atlantic 10, the Musketeers of Xavier, won their 3rd straight Atlantic 10 regular season title. They will meet the 13th seeded Vikings out of Portland State. And the Big Sky Conference Tournament winner. They won back-to-back Big Sky Tournament titles. So that's that half of the bracket. Now, Thursday, Saturday games in Greensboro, North Carolina, and the number 2 seed, the Duke Blue Devils. Winners today of the ACC Conference Tournament. Coach Mike Krzyzewski, winningest coach in NCAA tournament history. Who will Duke meet? The Binghamton Bearcats, winners of the America East Conference Tournament. They won it. They go to their first ever NCAA tournament. The number 7 seed in the East, the Texas Longhorns. The winningest coach in Texas history is Rick Barnes. 5th team out of the Big 12. They will meet the 5th team out of the Big 10, the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
And when you talk about the Big 12, I think a much improved conference this year, more so than the Big 10. Texas, although a little disappointing, this is a matchup I think favors them in terms of advancing.
Tubby Smith becomes the 6th coach to lead 4 different schools into the NCAA tournament. Now, Thursday, Saturday games in Philadelphia. The number 3 seed, Villanova Wildcats. How well do you think they're going to play in Philadelphia, huh? Coach Jay Wright and his Villanova Wildcats, 6th team out of the Big East, and hey, we get to play in Philadelphia. How good is that? Now, who do they get to meet? Out of the Patriot League, the Eagles of American University, conference tournament winners in the Patriot League. Eagles won the regular season and the league tournament title. Now, the 6th seed and the 5th team out of the Pac-10, the UCLA Bruins, top shooting team in the nation, and NCAA record 11 national titles to their credit, and they will meet the VCU Rams from the Colonial League, 3rd straight regular season title. They captured the conference tournament championship for the 2nd time in 3 seasons.
And I like this VCU team to pull off the upset over UCLA. I might like them to beat Villanova if they weren't playing in Philly, but VCU's going to be tough out for UCLA, and I think they're going to advance and pull off the upset.
All right, guys, let's take another look at this bracket now and see how it sets up for the number 1 seeded Pitt Panthers.
Well, I think they got just what they should have gotten. They have, by far, to me, the easiest bracket when you look at Pittsburgh. And again, I think they're going to be well rested. I think also they have more depth and experience than they've had in years past. This could be that year they get to the Final Four.
Florida State is the dangerous team for Pittsburgh in this part of the bracket. I like Florida State to advance past Xavier should they even meet in the 2nd round. And then you look at the next part of the bracket. Like I said, I like VCU to beat UCLA. I think it sets up pretty well if you get a Duke versus Villanova in the Sweet 16, but Duke is a great matchup for Pittsburgh. If that's the regional final, Pittsburgh's going to the Final Four.
All right, guys, this week, fans. Welcome back to New York, everyone. Here's a look at the tournament brackets from the NCAA and its corporate champions as we reveal the 4th and final bracket, and that is the South region. These games to be played Thursday and Saturday in Greensboro, North Carolina. The top seed there, the Tar Heels of North Carolina, the 6th team out of the ACC. Coach Roy Williams makes it 20 straight NCAA tournament appearances. Who do they meet? How about the Highlanders out of Radford University? The Big South Conference tournament winners won both the Big South regular season and the tournament championship. The number 8 seed in the South, the Tigers of LSU, the 3rd SEC team into the tournament. Coach Trent Johnson in his first season at LSU, and he will meet Out of the Horizon League, the Butler Bulldogs. Coach Brad Stevens, his team won the Horizon League regular season title.
And I tell you what, this is a tough matchup for LSU. Matt Howard and Butler right now, very poised, very patient basketball team. I expect them to pull the upset.
All right,
a slight one.
Moving down the list, Thursday, Saturday games in Portland, Oregon. The number 5 seed Fighting Illini out of Illinois, the Big Ten's 6th team into the tournament, coached by Bruce Weber. And who will they meet? The Hilltoppers of Western Kentucky, Sun Belt Conference tournament champions. And they are all about getting after the Fighting Illini.
And I don't think that's going to be the end of their celebration. I like Western Kentucky to beat Illinois. Remember, Illinois' point guard Chester Frazier is injured. Western Kentucky beat Louisville early in the year.
All right, Seth. Now, moving on down from the West Coast Conference. The Bulldogs of Gonzaga, number 4 seed. Coach Mark Few makes it 10 NCAA tournament appearances in his 10 seasons at Gonzaga. He will take on Mid-American Conference tournament winner Akron. The Zips won the Mid-American Conference. They finish at 23-12, and they are the number 13 seed in the South. Now, Thursday, Saturday games in Kansas City, Missouri. The number 2 seed in the South, the Oklahoma Sooners. Coach Jeff Capel, his Big 12 Player of the Year, Blake Griffin, the 6th team out of the Big 12, and they will meet the 15th-seeded Bears of Morgan State. The conference tournament winners in the MEAC, Coach Todd Bozeman gets his Morgan State team into the tournament. The number 7 seed in the South, the Clemson Tigers, the 7th team out of the ACC. Oliver Purnell has now led 3 different schools to the NCAA tournament, and they will face, coming out of Ann Arbor, the 7th Big Ten team, the Michigan Wolverines.
It's been a long wait for Michigan, about 10 years, and towards the end of the show, they deserve to make the tournament. I think their road win at Minnesota is what clinched their bid.
They doubled their win total from a year ago. They upset both UCLA and Duke early in the season.
And Michigan is a deserving basketball team. It's going to be interesting to see how they match up, though. Not going to be an easy road. They're in, but will they advance?
Well, they're a happy bunch of Wolverines right now. And first and second round Friday, Sunday games in Miami. The number 3 seed in the South, the Orangemen of Syracuse. Big courageous run through the Big East tournament. They are the 7th Big East team to make it, and they rejoin the NCAA tournament after a 2-year absence. They will meet the Lumberjacks of Stephen F. Austin. They won both the Southland regular season and tournament championship. The Lumberjacks are in. The number 6 team in the South, Arizona State's Sun Devils, the 6th team out of the Pac-10, Coach Herb Sendek's team at 24-9, and they will meet Atlantic 10 Conference Tournament champion Temple Owls.
And this will be interesting, too. Arizona State has to be disappointed with how they played in that second half against USC. Temple playing as well as anybody. Deontay Christmas looking forward to playing against that matchup zone.
All right, let's take a look now at the overall picture of the South. And again, how does this shape up for the top seed, North Carolina?
I think it looks really good for them. Unfortunately, for teams like Penn State and St. Mary's, this is the end of the road. We knew this was not going to be a good year for the non-power conferences, but Gonzaga is going to be very difficult to beat in Portland. But other than that, I think a pretty smooth road for North Carolina.
Yeah, I like Gonzaga. I think they have a chance to do really well in that region. And also, look for a team like Syracuse. Although they're a 3 seed, it's going to be interesting to see how they respond. 7 overtimes in the conference tournament in the Big East. Will they have enough in the tank to do damage in the tournament?
I'd love to see Griffin versus Hansbrough, but between Clemson or Syracuse, one of those teams will get into the regional. I think it's going to be Syracuse.
All right, overall now, do you see anybody having an advantage anywhere along the line?
Well, I think Pittsburgh's the best team in the country, so they will have the most natural advantage. And I think that UConn and Memphis being placed in the same region, I think sets them on a path to play against each other. But I really felt like that the bubble had shrunk in the last few days. Some bubble teams had played themselves out, and a lot of spaces had gotten shrunk. And again, these top 4 seeds pretty much played out the way they thought. I thought that maybe, Wake Forest could have gotten a 3, but Missouri also as a 3 seed I thought was a good placement.
Yeah, Missouri finished strong, winning the conference tournament, obviously. I still think right now Louisville, with the way they're playing, because they're so much better defensively, they have so much depth, I do think they're the class of the country right now.
All right, let's break this down by conference now. The ACC, the Big East, the Big Ten with 7 teams apiece. couple of guys thought maybe one of these or the other might get 8. It didn't happen that way. 3 out of the SEC.
Well, you know, the committee is always saying that conferences don't matter, and this year was a great illustration of that. They put 3 Big East teams as #1 seeds, 7 teams each from those big 3. And by the way, the SEC commissioner is the chairman of the selection committee. They got 3, and they would have gotten 2 if Tennessee won today. A very fair process.
All right, let's break down now in terms of the at-large bids. 4 non-power conference teams, and this is just another year where the number of non-power conference teams has gone down.
You know, it really is a shame, and I wish there was something that anybody could do about this, but the reality is it's too hard for these non-power conference teams to schedule outside of the league, and that's why I don't like that St. Mary's is not in this tournament. They played 13 games on the road, won 13 games on the road, and I think they deserve to be in.
And I think that's something that the committee has to take into consideration. The fact that these teams don't get the benefit of having teams come play them at home, so therefore it puts the onus on other teams to control their destiny in essence, and I don't think that's fair. There have been some really good basketball being played in some of these non-power conferences. Unfortunately, they're not being rewarded.
Well, when it came down to last teams in, these are the last 6. Arizona, Wisconsin, Dayton, Maryland, Michigan, and Minnesota.
Well, again, you know, the only one that I would quibble with is Arizona, again, because of the way that they played on the road. They beat Kansas and Gonzaga. Both of those games were home. So Arizona's got to play at St. Mary's next year.
And you're talking about broken hearts. Talk about the bubble teams that just didn't make it in. San Diego State at 23-9, an outstanding season. They just come up short for whatever reason.
And other than, of all the non-power conferences, I think the Mountain West was the best, and yet they still only get 2 teams in, only 1 at large. That's disappointing because those teams, San Diego State in particular, were deserving.